Awesome. Hi, Mark. Raylien has been so gracious to allow her to do some filming and do some commentary on Social Experiment. The reason I chose her is because this was like my first major interaction, like being able to kind of like share about, you know, who I was, you know, where I was coming from, what I was experiencing, and they were just, her and her sister were just so gracious. I ended up getting a space here. A shout out to StorQuest. Whoop! Just very nice people. Just, you know, really just kind of helped me navigate, give me some good suggestions, and just been super duper helpful. So I'm just gonna get to the questions. So, Raylien, first impressions when I came in.
Well, for me, you know, I really didn't think like, oh, who's this person coming in? You know, I was just like, oh, here's another customer coming in, and I noticed your tattoos, especially this one right here on the side, and I was just, you know, like, oh, I wonder where you got your tattoos done. And so that's what I asked, and that's when you were like, well, I actually got them all done inside. And I was just at first like not clicking in my head, like, what do you mean?
That's funny.
And then you were like, well, you know, like I got them done while I was in prison. And I was like, oh,
Okay.
oh, inside.
Inside.
Yeah, you know, so then, you know, you didn't come off as someone who was like sketchy, you know, and to me it's like, I grew up in Indio, and I live over there by Indio Coachella, so when I see people all sketched out, like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, hey, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
I'm more like, what do you want? You know, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
and you don't give off that vibe.
Awesome.
You know, you don't give off that vibe. You came in very
That's
professional, you know, asking for information and stuff like that, and, you know, so I just kind of rolled with that vibe, and I was able to communicate with you very well. And, you know, give you, you know, the answers that you needed that day. So that was my first impression, was just like, oh, you know, who is this guy? He has some cool tattoos. He seems chill.
Yeah.
You know, he's not giving me weird vibes or anything like that. He seems okay.
Yeah.
You know, and that was, you know, first impression.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I really do appreciate that because, like, you know, from the social perspective, I mean, for me, what's going on in my head is like you're having to readjust after a long time. You know, like part of that dynamic is like, you know, wow. You know, I'm still kind of like, you know, in the box in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, like, are people like viewing me like, who's this dude?
Yeah.
You know, so like that's kind of like my own stuff. But at the same time, too, like first impressions are kind of like everything, too. And
Yeah,
but I think
definitely.
underneath it all, like from a relationship perspective, like really knowing who I am and just like having the good vibes and having done the good work and really putting that out there like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm noticing that I am starting to reintegrate in a positive sense.
Yeah.
And that stuff's kind of, that old skin's kind of being shed in a sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
So, you know, while we're on the subject, what do you know, we're gonna probably just delve into maybe a social topic.
Okay.
You know, what are your, how do you feel, maybe what are your opinions about people being let out of prison? You know?
I think that's totally fine, you know, as long as you basically did your dues and you're trying to be a better person and could be just like how we're all doing, trying to do good and contribute to society. That's perfectly okay with me. You know, like my dad did like 8 years in jail when I was growing up, and he, you know, had a lot of problems in his youth, and my dad's totally a different person. You would never know that he even went to jail, you know, and so for me that's big. I think anybody can turn their life around. It's all your choices, like how you view people, how you view yourself, like the work that you do. So like if you were working really hard to get out of jail, you're proving that every day, why not? You know, like you can always come out and change your life.
Awesome.
You know, so that's what I believe.
Awesome. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. You know, I didn't, we haven't talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
That was interesting. That's a little insight too.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for being, thank you for sharing that. I know that's like a personal thing. Like, do you think like that whole interaction, like on a personal level, like watching your own dad, like go through that and still come out the other side a better man? You think that kind of, you know, like influenced you in a good way, like to be able to?
I believe
like,
it did, because I have both sides of the spectrum.
Okay.
You know, like my dad, you know, he did what he did, and now he's out, has a different life going on. And I have my mom, who is, you know, not, like she never fully served long-term time like that, but she has turned to drugs, and she still does drugs, and it's like I love her, and we've had that battle, but I definitely understand the choice. You know, like my dad, he's not perfect, but he's still taking a really hard route. you know, versus my mom is kind of like still on a hard path, but not really doing the extra to stay off of that path, you know, to go onto the right path, you know. It's like I'm 25, going to be 26, and my mom has been, you know, on the wrong path for a very long time, as long as I remember. So I definitely don't want to go on that path. That's deterred me a lot. And then I also like want to upgrade on the path that my dad's following, you know. So that's kind of helped me. And then on top of it, being raised by my grandfather, you know, him giving me the same morals he's given all his kids, you know, having the choice to be like, I don't want to fall on that path and I don't want to have to do it hard and then learn, and I don't want to keep doing it hard the rest of my life.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know, so those are definitely like what my path were. Though my mom, something that I always keep with me is her having me stand in my living room at my grandparents' house asking me, like, where do you want to be in 5 years? Do you want to be like the rest of your family, or do you want to be something? You know, and ever since that, it's like that's how I viewed everything. Do I want to follow in the same stuff as like basically every probably Mexican family has to go through, or do I want to be somebody? Do I want to do something? Do I want to follow my heart, you know, and do what I want to do? Like for me, that's astronomy. You know, like I never thought I could do that as a little poor Mexican kid, but here I am starting to do something with it. So that's awesome for me. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because me and you we had our discussions about higher education. So, do you think that's vital for somebody coming out of prison?
Yes, I think anybody who is a person should have education, just because it keeps you in the know, like technology wise. Like you're always learning, you're always working on your mind. You know, so like it's basically like if you're working out for your body, like you're lifting dumbbells and stuff like that. It's the same thing, reading, going to classes. Having the social interaction in class is especially important, because it's like you're seeing everybody else's view, and you're not stuck in just your own view or your own environment, your own circle. Because people sometimes just don't know they're biased, you know, or they're bigot, because all they are around is what they already know. You know, so you're always challenging yourself. So somebody who's coming out of prison, especially being in the system that they've been in, you know, that would benefit them so much. Just job-wise, educational-wise, spiritually, you know, emotionally, mentally, everything like that. It's going to help a person. You know, that's what I believe.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, it almost sounds like it almost engages people in like thinking more critically.
Yeah.
You know, like using their reasoning skills. And being able to kind of like think about consequences or scenarios, you know, and making better decisions overall.
Yeah, exactly. Especially like if you're getting into psychology, you're going to understand why you're feeling one way or what happened to you. You can think back, you know, on a certain path or a certain decision you made, and do your best to change that behavior within yourself or those emotions within yourself. You know, and something I really like about one of my teachers is when I had like a radio production class, and she really like emphasizes brainstorming. And so she said, you know, maybe your idea isn't the best idea, but they're all great ideas, you know, but your idea might spark another idea in somebody else, you know. So that's what brainstorming is, continuing like the idea, you know, no matter what it is, say it, because it might be really great. And you know, like what you feel is a dumb idea might spark another idea in somebody else that's like amazing, you know. So it's the same thing in all aspects. You know, just sparking ideas, meeting new people, you know, engaging, thinking of stuff on your own where you're like, wow, somebody just said something and it made me think of something else within myself, or an idea I thought I had, you know, or something like that. Or you know, that roadblock when you're writing or something, you know, or like a video you watched, and now you're like, okay, oh yeah, I remember this, and I can do this now, and everything, and add that.
Almost like having a link.
Yeah, you're creating a link, exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, because, you know, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm like, okay, like for me, like you just being so gracious to give me this space, you don't even realize, like for me, that's validating me, like, and you're like encouraging me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, dude, like your ideas, you're valid. Like what you want to do is important. You're being vulnerable. You're sharing yourself. Heck yeah, I'm on board. And that's huge for somebody who is just kind of, you know, I've only been out 90 days. So, you know, after 25 years being out 90 days, that's still like
huge.
A lot.
It's
you know,
huge,
it's huge. So, you know, I appreciate, because, you know, what you're really doing, you're doing that. You're linking, and you're infusing life into somebody else, and you're saying, hey, what you have to say matters. And I think, like, in the bigger picture of things, like, this site's going to really be about that, like, linking people with ideas, linking people with their trauma, linking people with their recovery, etc. And just saying, hey, you know what? We're all human and we all have these challenges. And guess what? No matter where you're at, just the way you are, you're fine and you're worthy and you're loved and supported. And I think that's the whole concept behind doing this whole social experiment, is like reaching out and making those connections with other people. That's important.
Definitely.
So I'm so glad we took a little bit of time to have this little talk. I appreciate it.
Of course.
In ending, I would just simply ask this: what do you think would be some good suggestions for me? I got a tech guy now, but I am not tech savvy. I've kind of been out of the loop. Haven't even started developing Facebook or Instagram or anything. So what do you think? Give me some suggestions as I'm starting to develop this and kind of move forward with it.
Okay. I think you're on the right path going on to social media for sure.
Okay.
And I think you told me that you were sharing information with somebody who's already on a platform that's established, so that's really good. So I really think you're doing a good job. I think maybe having some questions, maybe laid out a little bit more for somebody who's going to interview you. Like, you're going to interview, like, hey, these are some questions if you want to have anything prepared or like add anything. But other than that, you're doing really great. I think you could just continue. Like, it's all going to be a learning experience. Like, as you go, you'll see what works and what doesn't, and just keep doing what you're doing, honestly.
So let me ask you one more question. As a person who's you've been involved with social media for a while now, what would be a good question of engagement, like from my perspective? People are curious, I understand that.
I would say something like, what if you woke up in a different dimension or something?
Nice. Nice.
And you just got out of jail and you just feel like you just came out of this whole new life or something, like, just clickbait that,
nice. Role reversal.
And you're like, so what if you you want to really have them put themselves in your shoes, because nobody's going to understand what you're going through or what that person is going through until you give them some kind of way to connect with your life. You get me?
Yeah.
So, like, that's like with me, with people, I don't judge people because I've never walked in their shoes. Like, I don't know you like that, to be, oh, who is this person? Yeah. Until you actually give me your story and, like, you open up to me and connect with me. Like, and I connect with your vibe and your background, So that's something, especially with me with astronomy. I'm like, what dimension did you just come from?
How did you get so wise for being so young? I think that was another father right there. You got that.
I think it's just my crazy life I've had.
Well, again, Raylien, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. We're gonna definitely upload this, and we're gonna shoot you the link, and you can see the format.
Awesome.
I think it's gonna be a really good thing, to be a positive thing. And I want to say again, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Namaste.
Awesome.
Good luck on everything.
Definitely.
Of course.
Definitely. And we're out. Love, love, love you. Remember, get some ice cream.